Dr. Phil.
My mom thinks that people are gassing her.
My arms shake and my teeth going.
An unbelievable story.
You said there is a global terror network using chemicals of death poisoning you through air vents.
I came out here to the garage to be able to eat.
Her claims were investigated.
We did a thorough inspection of Cheryl's home.
And you won't believe what they found.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Well, before we meet today's guest, Cherryl, I want to give you some background on what she currently believes is going on in her life. Now, understand, I take this very seriously, so I ask you to do the same thing. Whatever she thinks is going on is real to her, no matter how far-fetched it may seem to you. Perception is reality. Cherryl claims that a global terror network is experimenting on her with lethal chemicals. Saudi Arabia, in her view, is funding a U.S. terror attack. And she will be killed by lethal poisoning gases. Now, Cherryl claims the poisoning in her home was so bad that she had to wear 2 surgical masks just to stay alive. She also says that she had to eat her meals in the garage on this actual table to avoid contamination. She says she kept this journal as evidence. Now, this is just one of 153 entries. My house is so toxic. I'm out by the street. He's really trying to kill me off. Now, Cherryl says she is fighting to survive and getting weaker. She doesn't know how much more time she has left. Take a look.
Somebody who's Saudi Arabian has been poisoning me and made me his lab rat.
My mom thinks it's a Middle Eastern terror group that's actually poisoning her. I believe my mom's racist towards Middle Easterns.
I stepped over here and stepped in this area, and now I'm feeling very dizzy. I was poisoned, like, 20 times a day. I'm so woozy that I'm afraid that I'll fall over if I don't hold myself up. I started hearing a dinging noise coming from the attic that sounds like when you get a text, then I would get dosed. The vapor, when it comes down, comes through the registers here when I'm laying in bed and would come down all over my face and my body. Several times it has been so strong that I stand there holding myself up with my arms shaking like palsy, and they won't stop for like over an hour, and my teeth going. The gas had gotten so bad that I came out here to the garage to be able to eat my food, to have it not be exposed to the gas. Right now, I'm at the peak of outgassing since I was in here earlier and had been exposed, and so now it's coming out of my system through my lungs and my mouth and through my skin. My evenings always started with putting on my masks to protect myself from the vapors. I was very nervous laying in here because I had to be quiet all the time, because if he heard me, he would start again.
My mom is spending all of her money on apartment, spending it on hotels. She even moved into 5 different hotels.
And the problem is, the same thing happens here. They come in, it takes them 10, 15 minutes. I can hear them setting up here, and I can even hear on this wall on the inside, and you hear pumps going.
You're spending a lot of money.
Over $10,000. The reason I come to these hotels is to keep these terrorists away from you and my granddaughter, because I know that's the worst way you can hurt anybody, is to hurt the people they love. I feel that I will eventually be killed by this lethal poison. This person is part of a bigger terrorist cell that is implanting itself. They had a lot of women of all ages, very pregnant, and walking around, some older in a burqa type with a scarf. I believe they're breeding U.S. citizens here. I believe by putting this out here now, instead of just being tortured, that I will be Khashoggi'd, meaning that they will take me and murder me, and my body will disappear.
Well, Cheryl's daughter, Bryna, says her mother is living in an altered reality and is concerned for her mental health. Bryna, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you brought your mother here. And you have your own theories about what's going on with her. What are they?
My theories are that my mom's either mentally unstable or that she's doing this for attention, because a lot of it is outlandish, and then when she speaks about it, she does get a lot of attention wherever she goes.
Okay.
And she's lonely, and she doesn't have me there readily available, so I feel like she's kind of created this altered reality to get people's attention.
She's not always been this way, right?
No, she's not.
When did this start? When was the onset?
It's progressively gotten worse. I would say within the last year, it started with a little bit of dosing, and it wasn't always on her mind and always something that she spoke about. And then within the last, I would say, 6 months, it's just nonstop, every day, something's happening to her.
Okay. Did anything happen about the time that this started or really got worse in her life that was traumatic or stressful or some big change? Anything happened about the time this started to be a problem?
Well, she moved closer to me, and I started working full-time, so I wasn't readily available for her. And so she had a lot of loneliness and by herself.
When you challenge her views, when you say, look, Mom, this doesn't make sense. You say this is happening at the house. You've been to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different hotels, and you say they're following you from hotel to hotel. What does she say when you challenge it and say it doesn't make common sense?
Whenever I challenge her, she always gets combative with me. She gets mad. She'll go from, even last night, she went from a happy state to an upset state where she thought I was against her to now feeling sad and crying and her needing my support. And so it's always that I don't believe her. You're like them. You don't believe me.
Okay, and so logic doesn't affect her.
Right.
And she claims that these chemicals are coming in through the vents, and so she goes out and eats in the garage.
Yes.
And she talks about outgassing. So that's when she's purging herself. If she gets out away from it, she's purging herself.
Right.
Okay, and have you seen actually any symptoms that you objectively observe? Has she gotten less healthy? Is she showing any
No, and that's...
dizziness, wobbliness, anything
No,
at all?
when we're together, her state is completely different than when she's by herself.
Okay.
So when she's with me, she seems healthy. She just talks about a little bit of a shoulder pain, or she can't walk because her knee, and that sometimes she can't walk because of the effects of the gassing.
All right. And how does she feel about being here today?
She's so hopeful. She's so hopeful that you're going to help her. And
how does she feel about me?
oh, she wrote into the show, and then I wrote into the show based on her just breaking down every time she would talk about you giving her help and getting her help. She would start crying.
We're going to meet Cherryl, and who says her biggest fear was that she wouldn't make it here today. We're going to find out why. She actually thought she was being gassed in the hotel we put her up in last night in Hollywood. But before I bring her out here and get her really overwhelmed by this, I'm going to talk to her a bit backstage, then we'll bring her out and talk to her. And as I said to all of you guys before, I know this sounds outrageous, but it's very serious to her. And so I'll ask you to be, I know you will, just particularly respectful. We'll be right back. You think that they're just evil people that just will kill you?
Oh, absolutely. He looked me face to face, dead on in the eyes, telling me I'd kill you right now if I could with my bare hands. One time I was terrified of him. The terrorist was controlling me from above and doing such terrible things to me. So this time it was so bad. I confronted this situation. I said, "Are you doing something in the attic? Because I'm getting some very strong chemical smells coming from the attic." And he said no, but his eyes darted so hard to the left you couldn't even see the eyeballs. They went so hard to the left. To me, that says that's a sign that they're lying if they cannot control that. He looked at me with his eyes that if he could, he would put his hands around my neck and choke me to death.
Well, Cherryl says she fears that her life is being threatened by a Saudi Arabian terror network. I decided to meet Cherryl backstage first, as it's really important that we establish some boundaries. My intention is to see if her claims can stand up to challenge. So, Cherryl, Dr. Phil, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
All right. How do you feel about being here today?
A little stressed.
What's your biggest worry and what's your biggest hope?
Well, my biggest worry is that I'm going to leave out some things that are so important to the story. My biggest hope is that I will be able to get some help before this terrorist murders me, and it's getting close. I wake up many times not knowing if I'm going to wake up or not.
I approach every situation with a completely open mind. Can you do the same thing? I mean, because you say this as though it's 100% fact, absolutely no alternative. And being scientific in nature, I don't know of anything that's 100% certain. You could be wrong.
It's just my reality.
But could you be wrong?
Sure.
Shall we go?
Yes, let's go.
All right, here we go. Everybody welcome Cherryl, please. We have a step for you here.
Thank you.
It kind of blends in, so. Now, first, you said that one of your concerns is that you'd forget something important. We've gone through and made a list of everything that you've said, so because I knew you would be concerned that you might forget something. Your claims are that a global terror network is experimenting on you with chemicals, correct?
Correct.
That's your kind of overarching
Yes.
belief. That Saudi Arabia is poisoning you through air vents and poisoned with chemicals at 5 hotels by terrorists. So if you leave your dwelling and go somewhere else, they follow.
Well, I've been living in the hotels, and they do follow.
Right.
They set up really quickly. Somebody is letting them know which one I'm in. They have me in a big 2-bedroom suite now because they said that is safest because there are less people coming in next to me.
Okay.
But they still get above me, get next to me.
And you think that even happened here in Hollywood when you were here, when you came here to see me?
Well, I didn't notice any chemicals. What I noticed is the noises in the ceiling, that I was hearing these tapping noises that hadn't been there before, but I didn't feel the chemicals.
Oh, okay. And you think they're testing chemicals on you to gauge your limits?
Yes.
And why you, by the way?
I've been asking that for a long time. This is going on with this particular incident for 6 months, 24/7, and I said, why me, why me? And the only thing I could think of is it was my location. I was a widowed great-grandma by myself. They're able to get to my air duct system, and so it was just a matter of who was there, and I happened to be the one at the location that made it feasible because other places are full families.
Do you just think they're not very good at this? Don't you think they would have knocked you off by now?
Well, the thing is, they could have knocked me off anytime they wanted to, but like I tell them, I learned my way of dealing with these people that people know. I didn't keep all this to myself. There are plenty of people that know what's going on by my telling them, and if you find a body right there, I've pointed the finger.
And you've said if your body's found like that, you want a full autopsy.
Oh, absolutely.
You think that they're just evil people that just will kill you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I got a look in his eyes one day when I confronted him when he was out. This person that I believe is doing this, in his culture, that they do not look women in the eyes. Well, he looked me face to face, dead on in the eyes, telling me I'd kill you right now if I could with my bare hands. And I never looked at him again.
Okay, well, more of Cheryl's claims, plus her daughter, Bryna, says she has her own thoughts on why she feels her mother may be making this story up and embellishing it in some way. We'll delve into that after the break.
My mom thinks that people are gassing her. She even mentioned today they tried to really dose me last night. What's happening on the news, terrorist attacks, dealing with 9/11. She's kind of all summed them up into one, and they're all kind of happening to her. My mom won't listen to me, but hopefully she'll listen to Dr. Phil.
I want to be a believer. I want to believe her, but in reality, how can it continually be happening at the same place by the same type of people? And so my theory is that mom's lonely, mom needs her daughter, and that maybe you just made up this problem because you needed my support, and the more that this happened, the more I came around. Maybe this has just kind of become like a altered reality to get attention from people, doesn't matter who, because you're by yourself and you don't have dad anymore to talk to twice a week. So you're lonely.
Wow, that's the first I've heard of that she really didn't know if she believed me or not.
Well, Cheryl's daughter, Bryna, says her mother is lonely, vulnerable, and believes that Cherryl may have created an altered reality to get attention.
My mom's life right now is an altered state of reality and chaotic. My mom thinks that people are gassing her, using chlorine, ammonia, and there's even chemicals now that are going undetected. They're using so many different chemicals to see what her body or a human body would be able to withstand. And she even mentioned today they tried to really dose me last night, but they weren't successful. I guess they didn't get their dosage right. My mom grew up in a Jewish family, so my theory is she has heard about the whole gassing with the Holocaust, then what's happening on the news, terrorist attacks, and dealing with 9/11. She's kind of all summed them up into one, and they're all kind of happening to her. My greatest fear for my mom is she's going to end up penniless with nowhere to go.
How many times have you said that you're going to end up in your car?
Well, because it's
How
frightening.
stressful is that for me?
Oh, but how stressful is it for me?
My mom won't listen to me, but hopefully she'll listen to Dr. Phil. This is the only hope that she had left, is that Dr. Phil is going to save her.
Your concern is that maybe she's just delusional, or is your concern that she's purposely constructing all of this for attention?
In one aspect, I feel like she's delusional because this is an absurd thought process that she's going through. And it's usually happening on her own that I have to hear the aftermath of. When we're together, I feel like it's just for attention. Like she says this stuff for attention, for me to, because she's always talking about she needs help. She needs me to help her. I'm her support group.
How do you respond to that?
Well, I respond to that they're smart about what they're doing. They single somebody out that's by themselves, has no company, no one comes over, has no support group, and then nobody believes you.
Well, I have two observations I'd like to share so far of what I've seen and heard so far.
Okay.
Would you like to hear them?
Sure.
Number one, I don't think your mother is making this up to get attention. In my opinion, you can cross that one off the list. Okay. I really don't think that's true. I think she believes what she's saying 100%. The second observation I have is that when you said you saw that man and looked into his eyes and you could tell he wanted to put his hands around your neck and choke you to death and wanted to kill you, and right then, right that moment and all. I've been doing this for over 45 years, and I'm about as good a read of people as anybody I've ever met. And I couldn't tell all of that from looking at somebody and the way they shifted their eyes. So I think you're projecting a lot onto that person because you're suspicious of them.
I know everybody trusts you and they will listen to you, and I'm just hoping that this is not just happening where I live, but it's happening all over. It's an attack within for our country. No, and it's only those of us that are observant and pay attention. Of course, we're going to be the target because we're the ones that seeing what's going on.
Do any of Cheryl's claims stand up to challenge? Well, we're going to find out next. Closed captioning provided by... Now, Cheryl's been keeping a journal, and I've pulled some of your journal entries. This is from Monday, October 22nd, 2018. Location, Cheryl's apartment. This assault has been nonstop all night. My brain is being fried alive. I could be a vegetable by morning without God's help. I want brain, hair, skin, organs, lungs, complete autopsy to prove these are Saudi chemicals of war. This is a mixed cocktail of death agents. This assault is continuous, attacking my brain nonstop. Brain is burning. I've heard him in and out of my attic since I got home at 7 p.m. Lock him up for life and send his family back to their country. Now, Tuesday, October 23rd, 2018, location, Cheryl's apartment. This is a tortured death. My body will be left dead or a vegetable. It's almost impossible to believe that a stranger can be this evil to a great-grandmother. A stranger, for some unknown reason, it is my turn to be the sacrificial lamb. Language is very powerful. You say that your brain is actually being fried alive.
That's what it felt like in the throes of it. It was that intense.
Okay, but if that were true, we wouldn't be here talking, would we?
Right, but at that moment, it felt like I was not going to be there after that moment.
But my point is, you were wrong.
Yeah. Well, I survived it
right.
at that time.
But can you acknowledge that you were wrong?
Well, at that time I did survive, but the next time I may not.
You said my brain was being fried alive, and I'm not picking on your words, but I think language is powerful. I mean, I hear people say, last night was just horrible. And I hear people say things like that, and you know, I've been on the children's burn unit. That's horrible. Mm-hmm. Being on a bad date's not horrible. Mm-hmm. You said there is a global terror network using chemicals of death targeting me, which is a little grandiose, actually.
Well, this one specific person's part of this network. The whole network isn't attacking me. This person is attacking me.
Yeah, but even that's a little grandiose because, I mean, you're of no particular strategic significance that I know of.
I was just convenient.
Yeah, but
they start somewhere, and they start with me, and nobody believes me, so that works. Because then they build up, when people come later and talk about it, mm-hmm. they've already got it programmed that nobody's going to believe it. They've already got that seed of doubt put in by people like me that are coming forth and not being believed.
And you don't think in a year they would have gotten the data they needed and moved on?
No, because they're going to do an interior assault on our country.
I said I had some other thoughts about this. I sent a leading allergen and chemical specialist to Cheryl's apartment to inspect every last inch for any signs of poisoning. And I have those results after the break.
So you can see on my infrared the coloration is different on that spot up there. That's 99% wet right there. So that can indicate that there's mold growth.
Closed captioning provided by...
I think and hope that these tests will find some of what's in here, but truthfully, I do not trust that they're going to find everything because I have a feeling they know what they're doing, and some of the things they have, the reason that they have them is because they can't be detected. Nobody has a way to do it yet, and so if they're further with chemical weapons than we are, it may not pick up on it. So I don't feel overly confident.
I've got a bit of a problem here, and you need to help me with this. And I got a couple of things that I want to explain to you. There's something that is called, read that for me.
Yeah, but...
I used to be in private practice, and they're what we call yeah, but patients. That no matter what you do, no matter what solution you bring, no matter what you can find, it's never good enough. And I'm already hearing in your tape, yeah, but.
And I didn't know you were going to be that extensive in testing. I would never doubt
I'm
that.
not even half started yet. Now, I contacted Mold Inspection Sciences. It's one of the leading mold, allergy, and chemical testing specialists in the United States. I asked them to conduct a thorough inspection of Cheryl's home. Take a look.
I'm a mold inspector with Mold Inspection Sciences. I'll be inspecting Cheryl's house for any mold-like growth that could be affecting her health. So I basically start with the IR and just do a scan of the room. So you can see on my infrared the coloration is different on that spot up there. So that's check one. And my second check is with a moisture meter, and that's 99% wet right there. So that can indicate that there's mold growth behind the gypsum material. The client said that she was worried about the bathrooms for mold though, so I'm gonna be doing an air sample in there. Even though there's a minute amount of water damage, there could have been previous issues in the bathroom that they patched over. I found this here, some discoloration around this sliding glass door, and there's a little bit of water damage on this baseboard here. And so when I pulled up this rug here, you can see that the tack stripping around the nail beds has been wet before, so I'll be taking a swab of that to see what kind of mold it is. So this canister here is going to test for any VOCs, volatile organic compounds, that Cherryl thinks might be affecting her coming from the vent up there. I'm going to leave this here for 24 hours and we're going to get to the bottom of this.
Well, Ben Weiser is one of the lead inspectors at Mold Inspection Sciences, and he's going to join us now via Skype. Ben, there were 3 areas of the house that you found highly elevated areas of mold spores, correct?
Correct.
The kitchen, the dining room, and the bathroom, is that right?
Yes, and the hallway.
Okay, and now the outside air sample count, normal in that area, both indoor and outdoor, would be about 1,600 spores per cubic inch, right?
Yeah, so we used the outside as a control. That day it was about 1,600 spores per cubic meter.
Okay, and what did you find in the bathroom?
So in that south bathroom there, you know, we found elevated types of Aspergillus penicillium, about 7,260 spores, Chaetomium, Cladosporium, and Stachybotrys.
Okay, and how about the kitchen?
The kitchen, we found about 9,710 Aspergillus spores, and then about 12,500 Cladosporium spores, Stachybotrys, and Chaetomium in there as well.
Okay, and in the dining room, you found 14,000, correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right, and these levels of these spores are potentially dangerous and capable of producing mycotoxins, correct?
Yeah, so Stachybotrys, Chaetomium, Aspergillus, they all produce mycotoxins that can potentially be harmful for people.
Okay, that's interesting and very significant. When we come back, we're going to talk about what this can mean in terms of the impact and how it can relate to some of what's going on here. We'll be right back. Now, I want to introduce Dr. Al Johnson to the conversation. He is a specialist in environmental medicine with 35 plus years experience in the areas of chronic illness, toxic exposures, allergy, and the use of hyperbaric oxygen therapy to address a multitude of conditions. Dr. Johnson is joining us now via Skype. You are aware of what has been found in this house with regard to the high levels of mold. Is this of concern?
Yes, it's a great concern, and we ran toxic tests on her urine for those mycotoxins and found very high levels of 4 different classes, including 15 different mycotoxins that are present in her body, excreted by her kidneys.
And this is from the mold, correct, doctor?
Correct.
It can be very dangerous and it can be very debilitating. I don't believe that a terror network is poisoning you, but I do believe that you are correct, that there are toxins in your home that are being circulated around, and the symptoms that you're having, in fact, are very likely real and are very likely due to these toxins. The good news is you were right. The bad news is you have the wrong assignment of its origin, which is also good news, but you've got to help work that out. And I want to introduce 2 really good friends of mine. This is Dr. Kaligi down here, and to his side is Dr. Kaligi. And they're from Creative Care. It is the premier treatment center. They're out in Calabasas, and they specialize in a very personalized, customized mental health. Dr. Kaligi is the founder and clinical director, and then Farah is clinical director as well. And I asked them to come here because I think you deserve, A, you can't go home, and B, I think you deserve a break to really focus on yourself and sort your thinking out. And doctor, you guys can really help her because this is a new set of data, a new set of information that she's going to have to acclimate to.
Yes, exactly. And I think a couple of things that I picked up from Dr. Johnson also is the neurotoxins have done some psychological and psychiatric damage. You have some toxins in your system, but they've also created a lot of paranoia and delusion. That's our department to deal with.
Are you willing to do that?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Fair enough? Okay. Coming up, Robin is about to learn a whole lot about her family history going back generations. It's going to happen right here, live. You do not want to miss this. Next. Closed captioning provided by... Discovering details of your family's history is really fascinating and rewarding. Today, Robin is going to learn about her family tree going back generations thanks to MyHeritage. And let me tell you, I've been wondering where you came from. I've really been wondering where you came from.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Well, a few months back, MyHeritage revealed my family history and learned a lot. Take a look.
We have a photo of your great-great-grandfather on your father's side. His name is Pascal Rice. Isn't that an amazing photo?
Seriously? Now, wait a minute. This is my
That is your great-great-grandfather on your father's side. Now, he was born in 1826.
Well, he looks kind of like me, I guess.
See that? We also learned that you have a very impressive family tree because we found out that you are the 11th cousin 3 times removed of President George H.W. Bush.
Really?
Yes. That is an impressive family tree.
Well, joining us is Yvette Corcoran, MyHeritage consultant. So welcome back, Yvette.
Great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Before you tell Robin about her family, how does MyHeritage track down all this historical information?
So MyHeritage is the world's leading service for family history with over 100 million users worldwide. Now, users go onto the site, you build your family tree, and immediately you access the billions of historical records on the site. Now, it's very easy to do. This empowers users around the world to discover, preserve, and share their family history, just like we're going to do for you, Robin.
So are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Robin, the researchers at MyHeritage built for you a really large family tree. You come from a big family. There are 93 people in your family tree dating back 7 generations.
Seriously?
7 generations. In fact, your oldest relative on this tree actually served in the Revolutionary War.
Really?
Yes. Let's start with your dad. Okay, so your dad, Jimmy Jameson, there are photos of him when he was in the service, but as a child, I'm not sure if you knew this, your dad worked as a golf caddy. And then he enlisted in the military at 20 years old, where he served in World War II. And then in 1944, your dad married your mom, Georgia May Drake. This is their 1944 marriage announcement from the Daily Oklahoman, and there's a photo of your mom. See, Mrs. Jimmy Jameson. In this article are such beautiful details. Your mom wore a blue dress and had a corsage of sweetheart roses. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I did know that. I did know that that was her favorite flower.
Yeah, it was her favorite flower, and she wore a blue dress. And also, if you look at the headline, right, calls your dad an air hero.
Oh, wow. I've, of course, never seen this. And I'm so proud.
Yes, as you should be. And you have so much more to be proud of because you come from a long line of service. In fact, we know that your grandfather, Jay Jameson, also served in the Army. I'm going to show you a photo of Garsham Bill Jones. Now, Garsham, you can see the photo of him right there. He is your great-great-great-grandfather, and Garsham actually served in the Civil War.
Wow.
Isn't that an amazing photo?
Wow.
Yes.
Yes, but we even have more service in your history because you actually have, are you ready? I'm going to use my fingers here. Your great-great-great-great, that is your 4 times great-grandfather, John Randalls, served in the War of 1812. Yes. But we're not done yet, because remember, I mentioned to you a relative who served in the Revolutionary War. Okay, I need my entire hand for this one. This is your great-great-great-great-great, that is 5 times great-grandfather, and his name was James Jones, and he served in the Revolutionary War.
Oh, my heavens.
Isn't that something?
Okay, it either means I come from a very long line of peacemakers or a long line of those who will not back down from a good fight.
Okay, we're going to share with you now. There's a newspaper article that we found from 1905, and this tells the story of your great-grandfather on your father's side. His name was John Brown. There's a photo of him right there. Okay, so John Brown accused 19-year-old Bud Ham of seducing his 16-year-old daughter. John pulled out a gun and shot and injured Bud. Then, 7 months later, the 2 men met again. They argued. This time, Bud pulled out a double-barrel shotgun and shot and killed your great-grandfather.
No. Sounds like he died protecting his daughter.
Now, Robin, we also found out that you have a deep history of beauty as well. Now, we know that you are the founder of the Robin McGraw Revelation Skincare Collection, correct?
Yes, yes.
Of course. But did you know that your grandma Opal was also in the beauty business as well? This is the 1930s federal census, and you can see right there that Grandma Opal Jameson was listed as a beautician, and she owned her own beauty shop.
Oh, I called her Granny Opal.
See?
And she was, to me, just like royalty. She had the most beautiful hair, and she just, everything about her was just beautiful. I just idolized her.
Yeah, good-looking women and gunslinging men. Yeah.
That is a pretty cool
I truly believe that learning about your heritage and your family is so important because it's part of what makes you, you.
Yes.
And my heritage makes learning about your ancestors really easy. All you have to do is go to myheritage.com/Dr. Phil, fill in some information, and you guys do the rest. The information and stories it finds are, as you can see, are just absolutely fascinating. Yeah. Right now, they have a special offer for Dr. Phil viewers. If you go to myheritage.com/Dr. Phil, you can begin a 14-day free trial now and lock all of MyHeritage advanced features and easily make amazing discoveries. You'll be happy you did, I promise.
In fact, your friends at MyHeritage, Robin, wanted to leave you with something very special. We have a little gift for you. Oh. Yes. So we have framed for you the announcement of your parents' marriage. And I have to tell you, there are some even more beautiful details in there, including the cake that was served. Yes.
No, really? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just beautiful.
That is great. Look, I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to Yvette Corporan and MyHeritage. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to my free podcast, Fill in the Blanks. We'll see you next time. Thank you.